Thanks for your patience today, folks. Yeah, I saw some people came in. I'm going to say earlier, but it wasn't really earlier. You came in at the time that the stream was set up for on YouTube, which didn't align with my calendar. So I'm trying to fix that. I'm trying to get some sort of integration so that they always match up with each other. But it's been a while trying to sort that out. So thanks for your patience. I'm just getting the first game ready. So a couple of days ago, we had a game from Endo, who's working on Echo Extract, and it didn't work for me, and that was because there was a bug, but it wasn't a bug I didn't know about. It was a bug I'd been told the workaround for and just forgotten about. So I'm just going to try and sort that now so that we can do Echo Extract first, which is a game that's been on our a game that's been on a few of our community streams as it's being iterated on. But yeah, Endo had sent me a thing saying, "Hey, this is how you fix the bug." And then by the time I got to the stream, I'd forgotten. So just gonna go and delete a sort of cached file that is the thing that causes the bug, I think. Okay, this is the folder I need to delete. I'll just do that, and then we should be good to go. Whew. Okay. Yeah, thanks for joining today. Normally I have a couple of games together that are kind of matched in some way by theme or mechanics. Not really the case today. We're looking at Echo Extract to sort of make up for the fact that I couldn't play it the other day. And then we will be checking out Maniqua Defense, which I think only plays in the browser. And that is like a kind of defense-based action game. I quite like the way this looks visually, just from the GIFs here. So we'll check out the Echo Extract before because I missed it previously, and then we'll come back to that in a minute. And hopefully we won't get the bug now because I've deleted the folder that I was supposed to delete, which last time basically stopped us from dashing, and that stopped us from getting through the tutorial because we couldn't do the dashing jump over the first obstacle. Okay. This is a difficult combo-focused action game. We're going to be doing like beat-em-up combos. We're going to be in a big kind of open 3D space, almost like you're playing a Dynasty Warriors type game. And I'm also very aware that I'm getting some lag in my camera since I got a new audio, new sound card, but we'll have to worry about that another time. Okay. Let's see what's going on with this now. I haven't played it in a couple of months. No battle now. That's a great wait screen with the gun fingers. Yeah, okay, we can dodge now. So we've got dodge button, and if we dodge while sprinting, we will go in, we will do a big jump. Alright, we're going to practice some blocking. Blocking right before the enemy hits me will parry. Parrying deals massive guard damage. I like the fact that parry is just on the block button. I guess that's how it usually works in a lot of games, but it's a lot easier to kind of manage the amount of attention you have to play if it's basically just like a specific use of a more general button. Right, light attack and heavy attack. And we can lock on by clicking in the right stick as well, which feels quite intuitive. That seems like a decent button placement. And it wants us to learn a combo. And we get some loot. Okay. Get some stuff. Not always a big fan of using joysticks to do cursors, but it's fine. It's acceptable. Give me a sec. For some reason, Streamlabs was eating up half my screen doing a vertical preview, as if I was making some sort of TikTok. A shield icon above the enemy's health bar means they are going to block your next attack. Most attacks do a small amount of guard damage. Remove all the opponent's guard to make them staggered. Okay. All weapons have a guard break combo. Light, light, heavy. Now I know that little combo thing at the top is meant to be a tutorial thing, but I wonder if it might be worth just having all the time. One thing that I find slightly annoying, which doesn't really line up with what I expect from things like Dark Souls, is if I'm locked onto the enemy and I run over here and I start attacking, the game doesn't like redirect my attacks towards the enemy that I'm locked onto, which feels a bit wrong, and it might be because I'm so used to playing games that are about like swinging swords and stuff. And with those, you can just sort of swing in the general direction that looks okay, but because I'm locked onto that character, and my expectation from similar games is if I now attack, the game's going to like automatically turn me towards the character I'm attacking. It doesn't. It feels a bit squiffy. I'm not sure if that issue that I'm experiencing lines up with what other people would expect, but it feels a bit weird. You know, when I'm using a lock on, I expect to be able to kind of just run around and the character stays oriented when they attack. Okay, we've got some sort of kunai. Can pick up these other things. Don't have much space in the inventory to like keep other things yet, but I know that's the whole point really. It's like choosing what to keep and what to leave. After that fight, I can see this is the way I came from, but I didn't really know until I started going this way. So I think having something to orient us in terms of like, yeah, I don't know, like one thing you can do with level design is something that's called a one-way valve, which is just basically like have it so that when they come into this fight in the tutorial, they drop down a little bit of a cliff and then they can't go back. And that's in level design, you'd call that a one-way valve. It's like a flow that takes people out of one part of the level and they can't go back. And the cheapest way of doing it is having them jump down a hole or something. Yeah, no, the lock-on is locked on. It's a very small little kind of reticule that sticks to the character. I think we could maybe make that a bit clearer as well. You know, maybe we put an outline around the character when they're locked on or something, but it feels strange. All weapons have special moves initiated with RB. Using a special move puts the move on cooldown. Okay. With the dagger equipped, look at the enemy across the lake, and then we get a dagger throw that teleports us. Okay, that's cool. I can turn myself up a little bit, but there we go. Sorry, I've got a new audio interface input thing. So the preamps and stuff are different, so I'm still getting used to using it. Okay, we're going to go to combos, then special moves. I think this is the bit where you're going to maybe lose people by friction, because a lot of games would like teach you the special move in the tutorial and then not require you to use this menu until a little bit later on. But I think one of the things that we need in this game, based on having played it before, is like a way to pin a couple of moves so that we can see them. Because it's not like we're playing a two-player fighting game on the couch where having the abilities on the screen would be cheating for one player or something. So, I don't know. I think maybe they're having a way to having a way to like lock some of them onto the screen might be good. Okay, so although maybe that's what's happening. Maybe the one at the top is because I just did that. I really think that thing at the top should be part of the interface and not just the tutorial, but we'll see. So special light. Special light. Did them in one. Now they've got a lovely hammer. I'm going to take your lovely hammer. I'm going to put your knife in my pocket, and I'm going to take your lovely slacks as well, and your pink jacket. Oh, the slacks have got so much space. Okay, so what's our special now? What our special now is... We've got a couple. Special heavy, special light, special. Okay, cool. So the hammer has a different moveset. And when you've got a different weapon, you basically get like a set of moves that are based on the type of character you're playing with that weapon. So I think this super armor thing from the... I think that's directly related to the hammer, if I remember how this works. Okay, one last thing. The eye icon above the enemy's health bar means I've become predictable. The enemy is ready to parry me if I repeat the same attack or combo. I should vary my attacks and combos to prevent being parried. That's interesting. Cool. That's doing a good... it's kind of telling us that, hey, we've taken the time to make these enemies a little bit smart in a certain way, so please pay attention. Asbestos. Let's collect some asbestos. I really like the dodge roll. I like the distinction between the dodge roll and the sprinting jump as well. Those feel good. This is very what's the word? Sensitive. Big loot ball. What have I got? I think making this work with the cursor, with the joystick as a cursor, maybe just giving these objects a little bit of gravity, so that when you, because I think the issue is really when anything is like one thing wide. As soon as I'm dealing with 2x2s and 3x3s, it's not really a problem, but this kind of gets a little bit too sensitive when we're dealing with stuff like this med vial. So maybe when we're on the edge of things, just giving the cursor a little bit of kind of gravity into the objects might help. Here we go. And then we're extracting. So we've got like a base that you extract back to. I don't know how much that's changed since we last played. Okay, here's my first raid. Time to beat up some punks and grab some loot. Those beams in the sky are extractors. If I can make it to them, I'll be able to escape to my home base. But if I lose all my health, I'll have to activate my echo. That means I'll lose any loot I've found. I mean, I think as soon as you're working in this kind of space where you're doing over-the-shoulder cameras, I would say take as many of your interaction cues and how they work from Fortnite. I know to some people that might sound like sacrilege, but that is the vast majority of people's experience of playing a game like this. And, you know, there are other AAA games you could look at to see how they do it, like things like Uncharted and The Last of Us. But the thing is, those Naughty Dog games are much more kind of... They're cinematic, but they're also a little bit more simulationist. So it's the kind of game where when a character picks something up, they'll do a little animation. Whereas this is cartoony. So I think the way that Fortnite does a lot of those kind of interactions, like what's it like to, you know, press a button to use a machine or open a chest or whatever, is probably the best guideline you're going to get for how most people will expect that thing to work in a video game in 2026. Hello. Okay, I've got a stim pack shortcut. You might want to create a short delay before the next button comes up on these, because when this tutorial ambushes me as I get into a fight, my temptation to just push through it without reading it is much, much stronger because I'm in a moment where I want to do the fight. So you might want to give people like a second where they can't actually press next on the menu. Okay. Got it. I mean, I don't actually need the health, do I? Yeah, I was only I'd only had like a fifth of my health, or like a 5% of my health lost then. That was a big waste. The tutorial lied to me. Oh, yeah. So that was my fast special and my slow special with the hammer. Yeah, we're good to go like that. And see what this one's got. What are these? Batteries. So some of these things don't have any use in the combat game because there is like a base building thing that you take them back to, I think. If that's still there. Ah, cool. I'm glad we've got some little doobles to go and pick up. Although, I'm not a big fan of the light punch. It feels a little... I don't know, I kind of want to be using my hammer. Even if it's just like hitting with the... Like a little bop with the butt of the hammer as the light attack. Or the first light attack in the chain. I do love the kind of vibes of this general location and how it's like the art direction of everything is so nice. I don't know how much has changed about the UI, but it feels a little bit more polished than last time. I'm not sure why, and I think the interaction in the UI was always alright, but it kind of looks better now. Was cool. Oh, and I can't look at moves when we're fighting because it doesn't pause. Got some of that spray cheese stuff. I think another polish thing that would be quite nice is you've got this kind of grainy effect in the main game, and I think pulling that through into the menus would be good, but you don't want to do it everywhere in the menus. So like if I open the menu, I think having the grain on all of the tabs and stuff are in front of the grain, and then having the grain as part of the background would really help with the depth of the menu and seeing which bits are interactable and then making it feel of a piece with the world. Yeah, this has been in earlier streams. I streamed it a couple of months ago, I think, last time. Not sure what's changed. I can have a look at the dev's notes, but I think it's quite nice to go in a little bit blind anyway. Okay, basic combos, light. Oh, and we can pin them as well. Okay, so let's start pinning some combos. We're gonna pin all the specials because the basic combos don't need. Yeah, we do have the combo pin feature. That's great. That's. I like the way that the failure sequence happens. You're laying on the floor and you zap yourself out. Okay. I like how quickly we're able to see both the main loop of the game and this kind of more investment bit that we're doing. Okay, it's telling me the OK button is a button that I wouldn't expect. Something strange is happening here. Time for the med station. Press... something has got broken here, I think. Okay, I can change the floor with that, but I can't get out of this stage of the tutorial. A little bit. Ah! Which is a shame, because we got past this bit before. I was able to do some base building and then get back into the main game. I'm going to force quit it and try that one more time. Yeah, I did try the mouse and it just wasn't allowing me to do anything with it. Let's try it one more time, and if it doesn't work, we'll move on to the next game. So in terms of the actual game feel of the fighting, I really like the characters and the animations. Sometimes I feel like I'm giving an input and I don't really know if it's registered. Like I'm trying to do a combo and I feel like I've pressed all 3 buttons before the character does anything. And I'm not really, you know, I don't play loads of kind of traditional fighting games. But my understanding is if I'm pressing the button 3 times to do a combo, we're going to have seen the first move by the end of that. But it doesn't quite feel like that's what's happening. And maybe it's like maybe the animations are too slow for the way that the combo inputs are given or something. Right, I've got the game open twice now. If I need to go through the tutorial again, then so be it. Ah, okay, cool. It's saved the right place in the tutorial. We're going to open the build menu. Right, it says press that button to... Yeah, I'm pressing it. It's not doing anything. Oh, there we go. I pressed right on it instead, and it seemed to be okay that time. Right, I can rotate the camera and the object I'm building. There's going to be a little bit of a learning curve on the controls for this section of the game, but they generally feel okay, and you've got everything up on screen all the time anyway. So, you know, this is something where people can take their time, so it doesn't have to be quite as intuitive. Now I replenish my stimpaks at the med station. Okay, so we've got to build something. We've got to build something functional straight away. Put my loot in there. Okay, we're going to get like little bounty quest things from the computer. Let me get some more. I can set these items to a wish list so that I know that they're involved in crafting healing things, which seems like a good idea. It's kind of like the Fallout, you know, search for this type of junk shortcut thing you get in Fallout. I think Subnautica had a similar thing as well. Here's our storage. I think this time I'm going to put the hammer. No, I can sell. They say I could sell stuff on the computer. I'm going to get rid of one of these hammers. Yeah, okay, so I can sell some stuff. We can get rid of the warhammer and the spare clothes. You've got a shortcut to just put stuff in whichever slot as well, which is good. And it was quite intuitive. I just pressed a random button and it was the one I thought it was. Okay, we're going to go without the hammer this time. Okay, and then we are basically good to go. Let's see if we can pin some more combos. So these are the basic combos I've got. Light, light, heavy. I'm gonna put them all on if I can. And so the dagger has a different thing. The hammer has like some sort of special armor passive. But this has like a thing called lethality that you build up when you do special moves. I love these kind of silly pun names in the titles. Nothing personnel. Oh, we've got some different locations as well. Let's go to Vice Beach. Oh, not available in demo. Okay. Practice room, Radlands. Cool. You've got a couple of different areas. That's nice. I mean, there's not anything here to kind of indicate what's different about fighting in these places. I would look into that because you might have a sense of what's different about these things, but even in a demo, you want to communicate like what these 5 areas have about them that's not just like a different set of art, you know? The number of special moves available are tied to a weapon's mark level. Mark 1 weapons have 1 special move. Okay. Cool. That's pretty good. Oh, and it has unstuck my combos. Okay, so we've got some moves that gain lethality. So let's pin 3 moves that gain lethality at the top. And then the ones underneath that consume lethality. So we've got that one. Light combo requires lethality. Okay. Lethal reset consumes Right. I'm just going to pin as many as I can, but I'm pinning them in a certain order so that I can remember what they do. Right, the top 3 are the moves I need to do to gain lethality, and the ones underneath use lethality in a kind of ascending order. So the light combo requires 1 and stuff. It's going to be a little bit hard to remember, but I've kind of set it up in a way that should make it easier for me to remember. Okay, heavy, light, heavy. Can't really see. There we go. I think I got the plasma attack then. So that should be giving me 1 lethality when I do it. We'll do. Try the dagger throw. That gives me a. Yeah, that gives me a lethality thing. By 4 grid, 9 armor. 3x4 grid, 11 armor. Three by 3 grid, not as good for storage. Oh, there we go. I think you could get quite a lot of mileage in these levels out of spawning the player in different places each time as well. Because if you're going to have only a few of these arenas, they're going to feel quite samey just from the fact that the player comes in the same place every time. But you could move around the spawn point and that will give you quite a lot of mileage, I think. Ah, lovely hammer. What's that? Scratch and sniff stickers that all smell like plastic. Bleached flour. Yeah, the Barksang sucker was great. I love all the kind of goofy early 90s cartoon stuff. It's good. It's got a voice, this game, you know. I think the fact that some of the combos require resources is going to make it very hard to remember. It's kind of already difficult to remember the combos without having them pinned on the screen. And I say that having not even really tried, but remembering which ones cost which amount of the resource is quite difficult. So I think the way I would approach that if this was my game is to make it so that nothing requires lethality, but that some of them, like, scale. You basically have like a damage scaling on the move, and some of them scale like 500% per point of lethality that you've got, but none of them just flat out don't trigger if you don't have any lethality, because it's going to be so hard for people to remember the button sequence and the fact that that specific move needs that resource to trigger. So I think the way I would play this game now, if I was just playing this for fun, I would feel very much driven to only use the hammer, because I don't like having to remember how the lethality factors in as a kind of, I like the idea in principle of, you do certain moves to build up those blood drops in the top, you get the lethality and then you spend it on other moves. But I think there might be a better way of doing that, which is a little bit more intuition based and a little bit less memory based. You know, if you look at how the blood resource works in Blood Thief, there are things that use it up and things that drain it and things that like fill it back up again. But it's very rare. If it's blocking you from doing something, it's like a very simple thing that you always know how to do, rather than one thing in a list of like 5 moves that have a weird thing that you need to remember to do to input them. So I'd be very wary about how that resource management thing works. I like the idea of each combat style having its own type of resource management thing, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be hard for people to really lock into. Got to punch open the Starfighter's control panel. Where is the Starfighter? Is it? Oh, is it that beam over there? Cool. Yeah, I think the reason the combos confuse me is they're called combos, but it's not actually 4 actions per 4 buttons, which is, so it's you're pressing 4 inputs to trigger a move. So they're called combos because they're button combos, but they're not combos of particular strikes, which is... Okay, no, that's right, they are. So jump slam, I do have to do the button inputs in the, like, I have to slow down and go heavy, 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 light, light, like that. Yeah, there we go. Look how far he went. That was great. Got any good stuff? Just give me the little things. Is that where I'm going? That beam over there? Is that a mission thing? The beams do look like they're a mission guide thing. I don't think they are, though, because there's two of them. Alas. The big guy down there. Uh-oh. I do like that move. It's the little interrupt animation is quite funny. Light, heavy. Yeah. Don't rocket launch me, bro. It's rude. We can craft Rocketeer armor like that green guy had. That's nice. Gonna have my yummy little stim pack now. What's this? Is this a loot thing? It's not. Well, I don't know where this rocket I'm supposed to be finding is, so I'm just gonna beat up whoever I find. There's 4 guys over there, though, and 2 of them are Rocketeers. I'm not feeling too many problems with the camera. As someone who's usually quite sensitive to that stuff, I'm finding it fine. But, yeah, interesting to see if it's a problem to watch. Oh, those things are full of goodies. But you need to punch them in their punchy button. Yeah, floor texture is going to give us a little bit more of a sense of real depth. I think the FOV feels right to me for like a melee. I don't know. Yeah. Again, saying this as someone who does play slightly more slightly more Fortnite than most 40-year-olds probably do. Generally finding the camera in this alright. What I don't like is the way that the lock works when we do a lock on a character and your character doesn't really turn to them. Feels like it doesn't really line up with what anyone would expect to happen in one of these games when you're locked on. Because your character doesn't strafe around them, they sort of just walk in the direction that you've put them in, but with the lock-on thing on the character. You'll see it again when I go into the next combat. I'm just trying to find a combat that doesn't have 4 guys in it. But hey, we've got full health, so I might as well try it. Let's go for it. So yeah, look, I'm locking onto this guy. See my lock on, and then I run away, and I'm not strafing around him, which is what you would expect to happen in most games of this nature. That's the thing I find the most bothersome. Nope. 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 I can get out of here and use an item, I think. Okay, let's see if I can just extract, even though I haven't managed to do much. Let's just focus on surviving and extracting. When people talked about the level feeling empty, I think you're right. I think there's enough kind of visual variety to make it feel like navigable and different in different places. It does feel a little bit spaced out, but there's also some stuff where we could add gameplay features that are like filling up the space and make it a little bit more rewarding to explore, right? So when I'm in this kind of situation that I'm in now, where I've got no health and no stim packs, and I'm just kind of running around trying to get out the level, that would be a great opportunity for like this whole arena. What I would do is have something that I can sort of smash to heal myself, right? So like a big, I don't know, some sort of plant or something, and I can go up and smash it and it splashes me and heals me, or it creates like a puff of healing nanobots or something like that. And I would put, I don't know, 30 of them in the level, and then at the start I would pick like you know, go through the areas and say, okay, you can spawn one of these in this section of the map, and maybe have like 8 of them spawn or something. And then that also becomes a balancing vector where if you wanted to make harder versions of the same level, you just spawn fewer of those things, but you have all the locations for them to spawn, and you like manually place them in the level based on places you think would be interesting to find them around a corner or whatever, and then you let the level kind of have some sort of procedure to decide how many of them actually spawn and how spaced out they are, so they're not all in one space. That's an example of a thing that helps to justify the size of these levels, because then we can have a few more things to find as you go around. And obviously, as a player right now, I'm doing that as a kind of shortcut to say, oh, I need some healing. I wish there was some healing, you know, but I think those kind of one-shot interactables that you can kind of pop that do something are a really great way to justify having a bigger level like this. I love those in Helldivers. They've got, you know, different environments have little plants and stuff that explode and set on fire or create toxic gas, or there's some that they kind of shatter and then they create this weird little time thing. So because it's sci-fi, instead of having like a, you know, interactable that explodes and freezes things in ice magic, instead it's got some kind of like stasis field that comes out. Those are pretty cool, and I think you could do one of those with like a healing cloud and make those a thing that, you know, gives you a reason to explore. I've come to raid your bags and run away. I can't really get to the extraction points. I can't work out how to get to them without... I mean, the fights are not in the way of them. I just can't work out the route. I don't have a map. Huh, I'm getting... I got some healing then, and I don't know where from. Hope the dev gets a chance to read the chat, because there's a lot of good feedback on the camera, potentially. But yeah, I think you're really going to have problems with memorability of the moveset for the knife, because of the way that resource works with the knife. I think you need to simplify the way that the resource works so that it doesn't require you to remember which move uses or produces each resource. And I think one of the ways I would look at simplifying the knife moveset is make it so that make a much simpler rule about how lethality works and apply it to all of the moves. So maybe it's like every light attack you land ups your lethality, and every heavy attack you use uses your lethality to boost itself, or something like that. Because I just think the way that it's structured to have like every move has a cost, or you know, a production of lethality, it's just going to be too hard to remember, and the result will be, you know, like I'm doing now, people just avoiding using it because it's too hard to learn. And it's kind of not, I don't feel, you know, I feel, I understand like the classic fighting game thing of learning these move combos, and that's kind of feels satisfying and rewarding to learn. But I just think adding that extra layer on top of, you need to remember the resource cost is too much. I'm getting some sort of passive healing when I come through here. I don't know where it's from. Something when I came through this area was healing me. I'm out of space. Maybe you do automatically heal outside of battle, yeah. Although I was running around for a while before and not healing, so yeah, I don't really know how that works. I find the fact that we have like no guns and then these guys with rocket launchers, I find that kind of goofy in a very charming way. It feels like something you would get in an old beat 'em up like Streets of Rage or something. Just some guy, you know, you're brawling and then there's randomly a guy with a rocket launcher. I find that some people are going to find that too silly, but the whole tone of the whole game is quite silly, and I like it. It's good. It's a good choice. Oof. Don't rocket launch. What a wonderful death animation as well. Maybe I should just fill up on Rocketeer cores so I can make their armor. I mean, someone said earlier that they were worried about scope because this game would need a lot of stuff, and I think the answer to that is like, you know, a game does need what it needs when we think of those things. But when you look at a early prototype or a demo of a dev's game, you kind of have to think, well, has the dev shown that they could make all of that stuff? If we said, oh, this game is fine, but it needs 20 times as many weapons and, you know, items and characters or whatever, have we seen that the dev is capable of doing that? I feel like they are, right? So it might be that it's a game that takes a long time. It might be a 2-year game rather than a 3-month game. But, hey, we're not here to tell everyone they need to make games in 3 months or not make games at all, because that's nonsense. It might make sense at a pure business level, but it doesn't make sense at a let's make better games, let's have a better sort of game dev community that is a little bit more devoted to innovation and making more interesting games and stuff, rather than, hey, everyone ships something every 3 months and let's all play the Steam meta, whatever. You know, we don't need to do that. Like, there's plenty of folks where that's their thing, and that's fine. But we don't all need to do that just because some people are presenting it as the sensible thing, and if you don't do it, you're stupid. You know, Some of us are artisans and craftspeople who are making things because we're passionate about that thing. And sometimes that means that you just naturally make something that has a bigger scope. And that doesn't mean don't make the game with the bigger scope. It just means, are you doing a decent job of proving that you can make a game of that scope? And I don't see anything here that tells me that the devs shouldn't keep making this game, you know? If I'd seen this multiple times in a few months and I thought, oh yeah, they're not making much progress, they obviously find it too difficult to make this game, then I would be saying something different. But you know, there's variety here. There's look at this guy. There's a different thing. And all of this shows that the dev is not lazy and is willing to go, oh yeah, we need some enemy variety. I'm going to make a different guy. The only time I get alarm bells with that stuff about scope is when there's kind of like a lack of that kind of variety in the base game that we're playing already. And I think having like 5 levels is fine as well. You just want to put some, I wouldn't say like procedurally generate them, but like have some elements in them that you can swap around. You know? I think that might already be the case with some of the things, like where the loot pods are and stuff like that, but I think doing it with like stuff where, I mean, even just going, if you think of like the time period this game is evoking, even just going back to like cheesy old power-ups, like the Quake quad damage power-up. If there's something in the environment where I can run up to it and get quad damage and have that for like a minute while I run to the next fight and like cane everyone with quad damage, that's great. You know, maybe I can get some sort of bubble shield, and these things can be stuff in the environment that's just like a one-shot thing that I get from like, you know, I don't know, using some sort of device or popping some sort of thing in the environment and getting that one-shot thing. I think that would add quite a lot in this game. I think we've been through a lot of the key problems. There's a few good, you know, Endo, if you're watching this back, there's quite a few interesting takes on the camera in the chat. I generally find the camera fine, and the fact that it's right behind the character, that feels right to me. But again, my reference point is like using swords and hammers and stuff in Fortnite, and it kind of lines up fine with that for me. But I do think the lock-on needs to force us into strafing around the character, because I don't think I've ever played any third-person melee game that has a lock-on feature where if I go over here, I'm running away, and then when I attack away from the character I'm locked onto. It kind of feels like the lock-on is only halfway implemented because of that, because we're so used to it sort of locking your orientation of your strikes, especially when, you know, what we're supposed to be learning is the attack combo inputs, not necessarily aiming them so much. We're going to just do a little bit of building and then we'll move on to the next game. How do we do this? How do I choose? Oh, it's down. It's a little bit confusing that I press down to go through the things when they're arranged left to right. Hey Mario, hope you're doing good. What's this? A planter. A conference table. Yeah, I think they've used the bumper buttons for some of the rotation actions, and I think maybe we do need the bumper buttons for changing category. It feels a bit strange. I think my nearest reference point in recent games from this would be the base building in, what's it called? Journey to the Savage Planet, I think is quite similar to this in terms of how much stuff there is and how it's laid out, I would maybe look at that. But I also wouldn't discount having a system where we do it as the character running around, because although that can feel a bit clunky, it might just feel a little bit more like it makes sense in an action game. That's funny. Why have we got? Why are the stairs like that? Was I actually able to move them off the grid and get them closer? I don't know. I don't know. Dump all this stuff in here. What does this do? A military processor. Found in a starfighter. I can sell things. Okay, let's move on to the next game. I do enjoy that. I think I think maybe we need something in the way that the moves register as being part of a combo as you pull them off, but I'm not sure what that is. You know, like some extra little layer of one sound effect, one bit of VFX or something that just kind of lets you know you're somewhere in the combo chain. That was something I kept feeling as well. Okay, we're going to defend our planet's water in a minimalistic space RTS. Thanks for sending this one in. It's the first time we've taken a look at it. We've got some mouse controls here. We're moving. We've got a drag. We've got a rotate. We've got scroll. Deep space view with middle click. Okay, it's all mouse. That's great. Hope everyone has got something relaxing planned for the weekend. Or if you're working for the weekend, then commiserations. And I hope you haven't been working all week. I have just been doing a bunch of sort of quality of life stuff in my game, making it easier to make new content. I've just been kind of reprogramming how my relics work in my game so that they're easier to iterate on and easier to plug in, and adding a generic VFX that happens whenever a relic fires so that you can see this kind of very gentle sort of purple glow letting you know that your relic magic is doing something. I'm trying to make that into a kind of generic reusable it's kind of, yeah, using Juice as UX type stuff all across the game. I spent most of the morning doing that. That's not actually the last build. How is that? How would that even happen? Have you pushed a build in the last hour? There's not a downloadable, is there? I'm just playing off of the... Okay. There we go. They come to steal the water to defend your planets. Okay, you can send your pilots to defend a space in the map and give different commands. Some low space rumbles there. Middle click to view deep space. The alarm will warn you when enemies are approaching. Okay. I like the way this looks. Ah, I see. Okay, so we middle click, it zooms right out. That's very cool, look. Okay, so enemies are coming on the line. We zoom in. The sound design is very strong. I mean, we're getting a few little glitches, which happens a lot with web builds of games, because the first time a sound effect loads in, it kind of stalls the whole game. I love the character in these ships and the way that they move around. Okay, we click on the squad, and then click and right click, which is very standard RTS controls. Click to decide who we're selecting, right click to issue an order, and it's on a hex grid. I think how kind of strong some of these sound effects are, you need to think about the frequency of them. Because like just clicking stuff and sending it to move is that sound effects are quite harsh. But I do love the sound design. I think that's really impactful. Right, we'll go in here so that there's a choke point and they can't get through. I am getting some audio crunch, which I think might be my sound card not behaving itself. Because I haven't maybe got it on the right setting or something. That's cool. Okay. And I think the test of this game is how does changing the layout of the levels change how it feels to play? Because it's quite a simple set of game mechanics. So we need to... Okay, these can do... They can do a patrol, which is just a move, I guess. And patrol means a specific thing, doesn't it? In RTSs, though, it usually means setting rally points rather than just going somewhere. Does feel it is that kind of Bad North vibe, isn't it? Of that mini RTS. Whoa. The deep space view is very cool. I'm not sure how useful it is, but it's cool. Go back that way. I'm pressing the wrong button. I think when we come out of slow-mo mode, whether you've misclicked, if you've cancelled the move by left-clicking versus right-clicking to send them somewhere, there's not really a difference in the sound that makes it feel like a backward step or a affirmative action thing. Like if I click and right-click to make the move, the sound effects and everything are exactly the same as if I left-click and then left-click and don't make them move, right? So we need like a ascending tone, like a boop boop when they're going somewhere, and maybe some sort of when we go back, something like that. Maybe those aren't exactly the things, but the kind of UX of how the sound is done, the kind of emotional effect of the sound design is very good, but the communicative part of it is a little bit confusing because it's not clear when a thing is cancelling or activating. So, give you another example. I'm going to right-click on that space. The blue ships are going to be ordered to go there, right? They go there. It does a kind of hiss. Now I click on the pink guys, click over here, and it does the same hiss. It did a little boo. I don't know if that's different, but the difference in kind of how it's communicating a cancel versus an action is not super clear yet and could be better. Gonna rescue that pilot. We got them. We take them back to base. Deliver them. Yeah, having the fact that they're stealing the water and the planet goes brown is very, very neat because you're just like, again, it is the kind of, it's the same design philosophy as Bad North. If you haven't played Bad North, we did an episode of it on One More Run. If you like this type of game, like, you know, RTS mechanics done in a kind of small way, and you haven't played Bad North, go and watch our episode of One More Run on it. It's an audio podcast, but the YouTube version has our gameplay. But you're following a lot of the same design principles, which is basically like, if we have a game variable that's important, how do we message that without having to do text? And having the planet like actually lose water is really cool. It's our health bar for what we're defending in our little mini defense game, and it ties into your kind of sci-fi theme very, very well and makes it feel like you're doing something important. But it means we're keeping some kind of bars and UI and stuff off the screen. Yeah, I want to see more Bad North likes. Okay, we're gonna try and create a couple of choke points. Are these supposed to be defended as well, these moons? Yeah, they go to the moons and they attack the moons first, so we are supposed to defend the moons. Get off my wet moon. Yeah, it's kind of Bad North meets Rimmed Capsule. Got the Rimmed Capsule aesthetic. The sense of life that you get out of the way these ships are animated is really, really good. Okay, so I'm losing, but at least I've kind of learnt what I did wrong there. You can also see the cloud layers of the planet go. The, like, atmosphere of the planet gets sucked away by the thirsty little alien parasites. Okay, so I need to defend the moons next time. So we're learning, right? First test of a skill game with playtesting. Does the playtester get better? Is there enough in the basic part of the game without, like, explicitly telling them, hey, you're doing this, maybe you should do this instead, that they just kind of well, not intuitively, but, you know, through process of trial and error are able to get better at the game. Yeah, having some way of like manipulating or sacrificing the choke points would be a very interesting thing to experiment with. Uh-oh. Okay, let's try again. That's our little mothership. Our defense ships come out of it. This time they go and defend the moons. And I guess you have a bit of a choice here of, like, do I double down on... Why are they flying around in circles like that? Just go. Go where I told you. Intercept these guys, because they could go straight for the home planet. Ah, yeah, okay, so we haven't got used to using deep space yet, but it gives you the direction, the incoming direction of the enemies, which is quite cool. It's a cool mode. I mean, the first time you see it, it just looks like a kind of flashy gimmick, but there is a tactical reason for using it. I just haven't quite got used to the button. I think the time slow sound effect is a little bit too strong for something that is happening constantly. Okay, over here. We're not doing great, but the moons have survived longer than they did last time. There's something strange about the pathing, because I just told them to... the green ones just sort of went what looked like the wrong way. And so in Bad North, things can path through each other. They can't actually properly occupy the same space, but they can move through a space to get to another space. And they can kind of like slide through a space that's mainly occupied by another group. I don't think you've quite got that here, and it feels a bit weirder in this context because they... You know, they're in space. They look like they should be able to fly past each other. Looks like they can't attack once they're draining, which is good and makes sense. We're going to this one, I guess. Ooh, interesting. Okay, you guys go over there. We need them both over that side. Okay, we've got 2 coming in bottom left. Need to stay down there, really. This guy can't repair, but there's only 2. Yeah, we've got a 3rd pilot, but he's only got 2, and it won't let me repair him, even though he's only got 2. I think the 3rd pilot is trying to repair, but I think they didn't make it back to the main thing, so it thinks it's repairing, but these ones are still flying around. So if we're getting very crunchy sound, I don't know if it's the build or if it's my computer, but I think it would be good to have a downloadable version of this, because audio seems to be the main thing that web builds of games are having problems with when I stream them. Whee. It's great. It's really good. I really think you've got a very good marrying of the mechanics and the theme here in a way that's incredibly intuitive. And you know, you could have just done a very standard sci-fi battle, and in some ways it is. Like, it's this very abstract thing. The spaceships are just triangles. Everything is very kind of abstract, early 80s arcade space game. But the fact that you have the water stealing mechanic is really cool, because it creates that visual element of like seeing the clouds drain away. I think the actual clouds could be better. I would maybe not have them as low poly. I would have them as something nicely animated, because you want the water and the atmosphere of the planets to be like something beautiful that you're trying to protect, right? But that idea of the planet's atmosphere and water being the various health bars, kind of like your cities in Into the Breach, it just works really well. It feels intuitive. It makes what you're doing in the game feel like you're really kind of doing something quite heroic, even though it's quite abstract. And you could have made much more boring decisions about that theme. And even though it's a very simple theme, like a sci-fi where you're defending aliens that are specifically coming to drain the water, it's just doing a lot for you in terms of the theme and the mechanics working together. And it also gives you that mechanical kind of what would you call it? It just that kind of complication of the fact that if you let them go to the planet, they start draining it and then they can't attack you, right? So you can allow the planet to take the hit, because when they hit the planet and they're sort of dug into it like a mosquito draining the water out, then you can go and attack them freely. So you've got this risk-reward trade-off of, do I intercept them with my ships and then my ships get damaged and I need to repair my ships, or do I let them get to the planet, get stuck in, and then I can pick them off without taking any damage, but the planet will lose water. That's a really neat little trade-off, and it just feels very, very thoughtful. And it's something that you wouldn't. The game doesn't need to tell you that, because again, this coming back to Bad North. One of the things about Bad North is there's loads of nuance in how the units move and interact and behave in certain situations. But the game doesn't tell you it, apart from you watching what happens and paying attention. And I played that game for hours, and there were still things that I was not quite getting. You know, the other folks in the podcast pointed out to me that I kept getting knocked by the boat when the boats come in, because I was putting my guys on the beach, and I didn't even realize that that was an issue I was having, because the game is so kind of nuanced in all of these interactions. And the way they kind of latch onto the planet and then you can kind of shoot them for free in that mode is an example of that sort of thing as well, because it creates different ways of approaching a situation that you might not realize at first, because the game looks so simple. I think that's what you get from making a game where there's parts of it that are kind of simulated and the player doesn't get to fully immediately control them, and it's sort of happening without them to some degree. And again, that's kind of what the Bad North formula is. It's like the individual units in the groups are doing their own thing, and you just kind of give them orders. And that kind of weird fuzzy space between a game and a simulation is kind of where you get the interesting stuff. Might be able to rescue that captain before more ships come. Whew. Right, let's see if we can get all the way through it. If you've made it this far, please leave your feedback in the form. No. No. Oh, it doesn't let us go any further. Oh, okay, I'm going to go back and play a couple more levels because I'm enjoying it, and then I will go and get on with my own game in about 10 to 20 minutes. Oh, we can also zoom the map around, although that goes to all sorts of places we don't need it to at the moment. Okay. Coming from that side. Let's go and beat them up. Stinky water stealing aliens. I don't know if anyone saw, I think I scheduled it for Monday. We've got the new Introversion game got sent over. So the guys who made Prison Architect have got a new game. Very rarely do I get that kind of press release into my inbox for something that I am interested in checking out. And you know what? It's not even out yet. They're doing an announcement and an itch prototype, and that's the studio that made Prison Architect. Not making a half-baked game and no one hears about it until it's done. Having people involved as early as possible and all the way through. That's how you make games. Most of the time. Right, they can't get that one unless they get through, so we should focus on defending the entrance point and the... We've got another one coming from there. Okay, so you go there, stop them, you stop them. Oof. Went through. How are you doing that? I haven't seen you do that before. Here they come. I think when our ships are repairing, I think having some information on that would be a good idea. Like they have some little base that they're in on the planet or something, you know? These aliens are trying to take my H2. Oh, yeah. It's good. I'm going to end it there, actually, because the crunchiness of my sound is doing my head in slightly. Go and check that one out. There is a link in the video description. You can go and leave the devs some feedback, play it yourself, see if you have the same crunchy audio as me. If not, it's a problem with my computer, which is not great because I just got a new Behringer Euphoria UMC 1820 and it shouldn't be making crunchy noises because it's brand new. Thanks for tuning in today. Like I said, we're going to be back on Monday and we're going to be looking at the new Introversion game, which is not a normal Indies Under the Knife. It is literally just a case of, hey, I got sent a link to a game from a very established developer of whose games I like, and it's not out yet, or that it is out yet, and you can actually go and play it. Arise Dark Lord is over on their itch page. So, you know, it's always very validating when a company like Introversion, who made one of the most popular indie games. No, that wasn't a 4X. I don't know where 4X came from in that conversation. That was definitely not a 4X. But yeah, Introversion made Prison Architect one of the most popular indie games of the last kind of decade or so. And even they follow the method of prototyping and then getting the prototype out to people early on itch, rather than sort of making something in secret for too long and not letting anyone play it. And part of the reason for that is because you just have to do this, because the game is the thing that happens when the player plays the game. The game isn't the thing that you intend to happen. Yeah, validating. I don't know, am I the president? I will check. The issue is with the Behringer stuff, when I look at which audio interface it is, it comes up with like 20 different channels, as if I want to set one of them as the interface, but I'll have a look into it off the air in a minute anyway. Yeah, I mean, you can't have a real-time 4X anyway. That's just absurd. So it's a 3 board games in a trench coat. That's what 4X is. Four board games in a trench coat, perhaps 1 for each X. Yeah, thanks for tuning in today. I mean, you said the audio issue is the game, but I can still hear it going. Oh, it's still running there. Yeah, so maybe a downloadable for people would be good, just because the sound design in Maniqua Defense is really cool. But I think you do need to tone some of it down a bit when you've got interactions that are happening constantly, like the slowdown time and the kind of click select sounds. You need to make some of those a little bit more aware of the fact that the player is hearing them so frequently. But I think that's a great game, and yeah, very promising. And I could see how you could expand that out with some of the stuff that is in Bad North, and like add in, like, you know, a little bit more character in the captains, and, you know, give them things that they can upgrade and stuff. There's all of the space to do that, but you know that already, and you know that stuff already works. So that's why I think it's important to do what you are doing and focus on, like, building the prototype of the core of the game and polishing the bits of your game that are unique, because you know you could expand that game by adding like progression systems and upgrades and stuff. We know those things work. But they're not something you need to worry about too much at this stage of the prototyping. So I think what you're doing there is a really good approach. And I think the level of polish that's on the audio and the kind of feel of the ships flying around in that game at the moment is very, very good. And that's kind of where I would expect a game to be before you start thinking too much about those bigger systems of how the game progresses and stuff. The main thing that was annoying me was like the ships not being able to pass through the same space. It felt like there was some inconsistent rules about how the movement and stuff worked. And it's important to get that right because, like I said, with your game and with Bad North, there's a lot of stuff just happening under the hood, and that needs to be quite predictable for the player to be able to learn it enough to manipulate it in a way that's satisfying to them. And there were some things happening, like the one time the ships got through the asteroid belt, and I wasn't expecting that. Where I thought, is that supposed to happen? And if so, what's the condition that I could learn here that I could have avoided next time or something? But yeah, lots of stuff to think about there. And I'll see you all. See you all soon.